Welcome back to Movie Summary. Today we are diving into a film called Murder by Numbers. The movie starts with a house on the edge of a cliff. Inside, Richard and Justin say some words and point guns to their heads. Screen goes to black, then we hear a gunshot. In the next scene, we are in a class where Justin is making a presentation but no one cares. Richard raises his hand after waking up from a nap. He makes fun of Justin, who speaks back at him. A girl tells him he needs to get laid. We are then shown the house on the edge of a cliff with Richard pointing a gun at Justin. Justin asks him what does he want. Richard says he wants to finish him, and make it look like suicide. Justin believes Richard would easily get caught, pointing all the ways they will lead to him. Richard presses the trigger and it ends up being a lighter. Later Justin gives Richard some special drug. They both want to find a way to trick the world. Justin says we will, while Richard tells him why not tonight, why not now? You always have excuses. Justin says we have been planning for months, be patient. Richard replies it's always about planning with you. Dreams. In the next scene, cops are arriving. Cassie, a high detective, comes out. She is with her partner. They look at a body in a forest. They get closer to inspect it. They seize traces of boots. They also find some vomit. Once at the body, Cassie sees a young female. They observe a missing finger showing she put up a fight. We then see Justin and Richard having an exam. They exchange copies with their neighbors. Lisa gets Justin's pop quiz. He thinks he faked but she shows him he nailed it. After class, Justin runs to speak to her, while Richard is in the background. He asks her why she lied that he passed that pop quiz. She says because she wants him to help her with her physics test. He is a genius, she says. Richard says hi, but she gives him the finger. On the other side, Cassie comes home. Sam is accompanying her. He is new to this district. She shares with him some funny nicknames others give to her. She lives on a boat. Cassie open a beer and get comfortable. She sees a letter, a notice of hearing. She start having bad flashbacks. The next day, her and Sam arrive to work, discussing the case. She tells him about the old case they want her to testify on. They are still searching on who is that girl. Meanwhile we see Justin arriving to Lisa's house. She grabs her physics book and they get to work. That night Richard is at a home negotiating on the drug he is about to buy. The man says bring me some of those cheerleaders and I'll give it to you for free. Meanwhile Cassie is examining the pictures of the body. When she takes the files of that old case, she looks at pictures from that case and is having nightmares. She then falls asleep. The next day Cassie and Adam are at the victim's house. There is so much evidence in the house. They find a broken clock and find the time it happened. Someone walks in. It's another detective she seems not to like. His name is Swanson. They both argue. She asks what is he doing here. He just wants to stay informed. When she gets out, Richard not far, looking at through binoculars. Cassie is then drinking at a bar when Sam joins her. She is drunk so he walks her home. Back at her place, she offers him a drink. He isn't comfortable when she puts her hand around him. She goes for the kiss but he pushes her back asking what is she doing. She wants him. He doesn't believe it's a good idea. They then make love. She wants to leave her shirt on. Hours later she wakes up. She tells him to leave. She wants to sleep alone. She pushes him away. We are then shown the house on the edge of the cliff. Justin predicts the detective moves with the evidences he put in place, which he does. Cassie and Sam are acting as they predicted, especially with the one hair different from the victim left behind. Meanwhile Justin and Richard are burning all the evidences. As predicted, the detectives concludes it was done by an antisocial, with a spontaneous attack. Richard says poor Ray, he won't see it coming. The detective identify the shoes brand found on the scene. They then go to interrogate Richard, while the man he is buying drugs from, Ray, is the janitor at the school, is watching. He walks away, after Richard looks at him. They then asks Richard where he was that night. He was with a study group he says. He compliments her look. They show him the shoes brand. They have records of him buying those. He tells them he reported them stolen from his locker 3 weeks ago. Later, they check his story and he was right about the report on stolen shoes. They even confirm that he was at a study session except for 15 minutes when he went to the ATM. They got a security picture even, but Cassie wants a clearer picture. That kid really bothered her. Something isn't right with that kid, she says. Richard then meets Justin. Richard confirms they bought his story like planned. Richard then gets weird when Justin can't meet him tonight because he has something to do. After a clear picture, Cassie wants to still go forward and wants to search his house. The captain tells her if she knows who is his father. They believe she has nothing on him to request a warrant. His attitude pissed her so much. The boss thinks she is getting too involved. She storms out. That night Cassie is at home watching TV when Adam stops by. He is sorry for not backing her up earlier. She tries to get on him but he stands up. He tells her, "You are so good at breaking other people down," then leaves. That same night, Justin is with Lisa. He brings her to a beautiful place by surprise. He kisses her, while Richard watches them hidden. The next day, the phone rings. The prisoners of her last case calls her. She hangs up and is having those nightmares again. Sam then calls. He says they found caviar in her. They go after all the restaurants serving caviar around. One restaurant doesn't remember seeing much of Lisa, but there is probably the only teenager that comes here a lot. It's Justin. It's confirmed he ate there 2 hours before the murder. She then goes to interrogate him. She asks about him eating at that restaurant and if Richard is his friend. He responds no. He is very defensive as he talks. She senses that. Justin says Richard bullies him and is part of the cool kids. She realizes he knows him quite well. She then gets call. They found the suspect. Cassie rushes there. It's Ray's house, the drug dealer of Richard. Unfortunately, Ray is missing, like he took off. He hasn't come to work since the day they talked to Richard. Cassie thinks it doesn't add up. Sam says it's the murderer. We found him. After they close this case, Sam wants them to find different partners. Cassie hears a noise. She opens the door and finds a monkey who bites her. Flashback from her previous case is shown and we realize she actually was the victim found. They realize the different hair found on the victim was from the monkey. Meanwhile, things are about to go crazy and disrupt their plan, as Richard confronts Justin about sleeping with Lisa, thinking he told her everything. This movie has crazy ending and goes nuts. Don't miss part 2 attached here. Thanks everyone for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and check our other movies summaries.